Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Martin Hudilia, your frustrated teacher of the day. And in this video, we'll learn about the iterative statements. But first of all, our main objective after we complete this video is first, we will be able to understand the decision making in Java. Second, we'll learn the looping statements. And the third one is we'll able to identify and understand a vector and array classes. So these are our goals and target after you'll able to see and finish this video. Okay, Java programming language provides actually different types of decision making statements. So when you say decision, it actually decides on what particular operation, what particular algorithm that you use in order to have uh, an accurate uh, programs. Well, in decision-making statements, there are actually three statements which are listed below: the if statement, and the nested if statement, the else if statement, and of course the switch statement. These are actually the statements which actually categorize under the decision-making statements. So first we will discuss the if statement. What is if statement? If statement is consists of a Boolean expression followed by one or more statement. So actually, an if statement is a linear expression in which uh, if you have a code or a program, if statement can be applied if you have a condition of a certain uh, operations that you have to follow, and if that conditions will not be satisfied, that is the time that the state the if statement will be in a false category. The second one is the if else statement. So if else actually it is a statement in which if there is an if statement, there's also an exception of the expression. So when we execute a code, a certain code, if we use an if else statement, it is we can categorize it as the else is a condition in which we give an exception to a certain commands that even if it doesn't belong to the first condition, still it will still uh, accept it as a true statement. So again, the third one is the nested if statement. What is the nested if statement? So of course you can use one if or else if statement and inside another if statement. If this is just applicable if you have a complex series of code in which you have a multi-complex conditions that you have to follow in order for a certain programs to be in order. So don't worry, actually everyone can use this, but it is not actually uh, necessary all the time. But if your program is as complex as it is, then you can use the nested if statement. The switch statement, uh, guys, is actually a by conditions. It is a it is a statement which allows a variable to be tested for equality against a list of values. So there are in switch statement there are a list of values that we're able to encounter, and these values will be tested if it satisfies certain condition, so that that conditions will determine if that value will have an accurate and it will provide a either a true or a false result or output. Okay, so let's move on to Java loop control. So in Java loop control, there are three types of loops, well, namely the for loops, the while loops, and do while loops. So it is very important that we're able to learn this loop because you can use it in some different fields and manner of programming or in application. So let's discuss first the for loop. So the for loop is in execute a sequence of statements multiple times and abbreviates the code that manage the loop variable. So in a for loop, actually you just have to execute a certain command what whenever you want in a multiple execution, and you can just break it if you want, while the while loop actually repeats the statement of a group of statements while given condition is true. So in while loop, the difference between the while loop and the for loop is that the loop will continue to be executed uh, until you give a break condition. While in while loop, it repeats a statement unless it satisfies the condition, and if the condition is true. So that is the while loop. And do while loop is it will do a certain loop or a certain command or a certain line of codes even if it does not satisfy the condition, uh, as long as you have the desire to make a exception, or I mean if you want a certain operations to continue to loop, uh, in a sense that you have exceptions of conditions. So that is the do while loop. So let's proceed now to arrays. So what is arrays? So before we ended with a decision making statement such as if else, and of course we have the looping, which is there are three kinds of loops, and now we are here with our arrays. What is arrays? So Java arrays is Java provides data structures which stores a fixed size sequential collections of elements of the same type. So arrays in a- uh, in short term is applicable in a program or in a programming uh, event in which if you want to store a certain data. For example, if you have a program in which you have a list of objects, for example you have a coffee shop, and you want as you have to store a collections of data. For example, you have to buy and and you have to pay a money, and you have a choices as some item. It will store a data of a choices of data in a sense that this data will not be vanished until until the program will end. So that is an arrays, guys. So I think that is the end of our slide, and in the part of our discussion, we will now uh, go over our program. Thank you so much, and continue with our program. So guys, let us continue. So this is now the example of the decision making, which is the uh, if else and else if statement. This is the example code, and here we will be able to will explain it so that you will understand. So this one is actually a representation of three decision making Java conditions. Here we have the if, and the second is we have the if else, and the third is we have the else if statement. So in if statement, as I said before, it is a condition. If it is a condition in which if it's uh, satisfied with the given condition, it will make a certain cooperation as true. For example, here, if we will run this program, okay, so if we will run this program, as we see, since the condition of this if statement is If the number is greater than 0, then we have to assume that the number is positive. So since the number given is 5, the integer is 5, so it satisfies the condition that the number should be positive. So that is why in the output we have a positive here. And then in the second statement, in if else, if the number is 2 and is equals to 0, the system print out the number is even. But else, if the number is not divisible by 2, I mean, it's not divisible by 2, and the remainder is not 0, then the number is odd. So since our given number is 5, and 5 is not divisible by 2, and the remainder is not 0, so the output automatically says the number is odd. So that is the if else statement. So it will give a by exception to a given input, so that even uh, it will even display certain arguments. The third one is of course the else if. So the else if we have here, if the number uh, is equals to is greater than 0, then we have to print our number is positive. Else, if the number is lesser than 0, then it has to be negative. Or if there is neither both of this statement is true, then else we have to print the number is 0. But then since our given number is 5 and it satisfies the conditions that if the number is greater than 0, then it should be positive. So our final result is the number is positive. So that is how simple the if, else if, and the if else statements are. So thank you. Let's continue with our loops. So again, let's continue with our looping. So in while loop, as I've said before, there are three types of loop, namely the for loop, the while loop. This is a for loop, this is a while loop, and the do while loop. So in for loop, I mean, each loop has a different function. So let us start with our for loop. In for loop, uh, it is a looping in which a uh, a, a variable will continue to loop as long as the given size or value size per variable is indicated. So here, for example, let us run this. This is the for loop. It is the output of our for loop, because again our initial value is 1 and our size is 5. So it will just continue to loop as long as the condition is met. So since it is a size of 5, so the loop will continue up until a 5 cycle. So that is why the iteration 1, iteration 2, and you can add whatever variable you will add. But this is just an example. So uh, this is how for loop functions. Now let's go with our while loop. For a while loop, this is now the example. For example, if we have a given initial value of 1, it will continue to it will run while the system satisfies the conditions that, the value is equals to 5, the size is 5. So it will run, actually it will show 5 cycle of runs Example, this is one, it, from iteration 1 to iteration 5. But remember, don't forget to uh, add this one, because if you will not add this increment symbol, for example, we will delete this and we will run this one, it will continue to loop infinitely until uh, your system will get crashed. So be careful with this, guys. So from that, to avoid that incidents, we have to uh, again, we have to put this increment size in our while loop. So, and again, the same with the other loop, so that uh, our loop, our cycle will just cycle according to the given size of your data. So that is now our while loop. In the while loop, it will do, actually, it will it will execute a certain operation while it has a conditions. So for example, we will run this. In the while loop, uh, it is still the same, but the process is you have to do you have to in do you have to print a high string, but then as long as it will increment, and the while it is a condition that must be given. For example, this one, our initial is 0, so it will cycle, it will continue to cycle up until it will meet the conditions that the size is lesser than 5. So it will continue to rotate, it will continue to run up until in 4, because the condition is a is less than 5. If it will if it will reach it in 5, it will stop the operation. So for example, this one, it is just a 5 high. Why not 6? Because again, our condition states that our number should only be lesser than 5. If we just modify this and let's make this 6, and we'll run this, then it will again, it will be a 6. I mean, it will be a 5. I mean 6. That is how the condition of do while loop. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and I hope you learned something from me. And in the next video, we'll learn different things. But for now, thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. Have a safe and sound afternoon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.